What are some other options for me to do with my huge pile of cash over here?
Cash, right. In some retirement accounts, meaning like 401ks and 403bs, the cash option might be something called a stable value fund or guaranteed investment contract. And those often yield higher than a typical money market fund or cash. So maybe a percentage point higher. So that's something to look at. Not for your emergency fund, of course, because you can't tap that account. But if you're looking to have cash on the side, maybe because you are planning to retire in a couple of years and you want to have that cash set aside, that's a good place to look. You could look at individual bonds. We talked about that in the previous episode. I looked at my brokerage account today, and I found investment-grade bonds that mature in 4 to 5 years that yield anywhere from 2.3% to over 3%. Certainly better than earning 1% if you're willing to put in the effort to find the individual bonds. There are short-term bond funds that are often marketed or discussed as alternatives to cash. I have to say, though, for the most part, I'm not a big fan of these. Some of the most common, one of the biggest is PIMCO ETF with the ticker of MINT, M-I-N-T.
Cute.
Yes, it's very cute.
Subtle.
Right. And the yield on it is attractive. I mean, it is about 1%. But because it is a short-term bond fund, it will fluctuate in value. Vanguard has one as well. The ticker is VUBFX. Still yield maybe 0.7, 0.8. I'm not sure why people would turn to these if they can just go get a CD that's yielding 1.25 or 1.5%. Except that the only alternative, or the only reason why you would do that is, like I said about the CD, you're supposed to leave it alone. If you have a bond fund or an ETF, you just go to your brokerage account and you sell it and you get the cash. So there's some liquidity advantages there. But for the most part, avoid those. Some people look for extremely higher yielding bond funds. Might be junk bond funds. Not very safe. Most of those went down about 25, 30% in 2008. There's another one called a bank loan fund, which sounds safe, right? But it's actually banks making direct loans to corporations who don't have the best credit quality. So Fidelity has one, and it's yielding over 4%. And it's been stable generally, except in times of stress, like 2008, it went down 17%. So if you are looking to stretch for the yield by going into sort of these shorter-term bond funds, floating rate ones is another one that people find attractive because the rate on the bonds in there go up if interest rates go up. And a lot of people are afraid of that. If interest rates go up, what am I going to do if I've already locked in my 1% with something? These will go up, but the credit quality is not so great. If you're looking at one of these funds, one of the best things to do is look at how it performed in 2008, and you'll see in times of stress what kind of performance you could expect.
So you actually wrote an article for Rule Your Retirement that my husband very much took to heart, and that was using your Roth IRA to stash your emergency fund.
Right. And the advice for having emergency funds, I think, is often overplayed because most of us don't have huge emergencies that happen rather frequently. Most of us maintain our jobs. So having a huge pile of cash on the side waiting for an emergency might be a waste. The great thing about a Roth IRA is even if you're not 59 and a half, you can take out the money you contributed tax and penalty free. If there's any growth and you take that out before 59 and a half, you'll have to pay tax and penalty. And I wrote about doing this because I also didn't want to have a whole bunch of cash sitting there do nothing. I actually have a document in which I have sort of like a hierarchy of places where I will go for money in case I lose my job or I have such a big ticket expense that I don't have enough cash on the side. And the Roth IRA is a great opportunity to do that because it grows tax-free if you never use it, but if you do need it, it's there. Same, by the way, is for people who are looking for an alternative to 529s to saving for college, because you can put that money in. If your son or daughter doesn't go to college or they get a scholarship, you can leave it alone. But if you need it, you can't access it.
What should someone's next step be? Is it go check with their bank and see what CDs are being offered? So what you said kind of seems like a lot of work to squeeze like another like 0.9, less than 1% of yield out of my pile of cash. So is just going to the bank and saying, hey, what kind of CDs you got lately? Is that like an easy, good first place to start?
You could, but chances are your local bricks and mortar bank won't have the highest rates. That's how, like, when you go to NerdWallet and Bankrate, and you see these other banks and they're offering online-only accounts, the reason they can do that is because they don't have to pay for the banks and the tellers and everything like that. So if it's money you don't need immediately, like you're checking out to pay your electricity bills and stuff like that, go to Bankrate or NerdWallet, look for a good interest rate there. And it may not, and if you're talking like $3,000.
And by the way, Bankrate and NerdWallet, they compare sites for you. You're not going to get an account with NerdWallet or Bankrate. They're going to tell you who's got the best rates. Right,
exactly. If you're talking about $3,000, it's not a big deal. If you have, for example, someone who came to me who does have a senior in high school and said, I know you always tell people to put money you need the next few years in cash and not in the stock market, but when you add up 4 years worth of college education and it's already saved, he said, if I have to put $200,000 in cash, I think I'll vomit. So if you've got that much in cash, earning an extra 1% on that over 2 or 3 or 4 years, that's
not bad.
That's a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
So I think it's worth the effort to do that. And my final point is, one of the best ways to maximize your cash is to get rid of it, and that is spend it on something else. For example, if you have debt and you're earning 1% on your cash, it may not make sense to have that cash when you're also paying 3.5% on a car loan, or 3.7% on your mortgage, or 4 to 8% on your student loan, or 15% on your credit card. You should use that cash, pay off the debt. That will lower your monthly payments. That payment, let's say you pay off your car loan and you're paying $300 a month. You pay it off. Now you don't have that $300 payment, but now you send that automatically to a high yield savings account. So that allows you to build up your cash again. But from a numbers perspective, it just doesn't make sense to hold cash when you have debt out there. And then finally, for those who are getting close to retirement and haven't yet taken Social Security, one of the things you should do, or consider doing at least, is living off your cash in your portfolio as long as possible and delaying Social Security as long as possible, because for every year you delay it, the benefit grows 7 to 8%, and that's guaranteed. So the more you can live off whatever you have sitting in your bank, earning nothing, and putting off Social Security, the better off you're going to be.
And final offer, if you've got a big pile of cash and you don't know where to put it, Bro and I will babysit it for you.
Oh, I have ideas. I have lots of ideas for your money.